Welcome back to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Last time, we cleared the way for Skrimir to take over another fort. We had to come up with a plan for him in this case, unfortunately. And now, the war continues.
The tactics used by the Galleon army prove effective, and like Flagare before it, Mujil falls to claw and steal. Before Benyan can react, the Laguz overwhelm the remaining border defenses and cross into the Telgum region. With both defensive keeps overrun, Telgum falls like ripe fruit at the feet of the Laguz alliance. Inspired by their success, the Alliance takes advantage of this momentum to strike toward the very heart of the Benyan Empire. Dukes Gados and Celiora are horrified by the speed of the Laguz advance. Banding together with the land-owning nobles of the northern territories, they mass their armies in Celiora to oppose the Galleon assault. Using the Riban River, a tributary of the mighty Miskale, as a defensive front, the Benyan forces make their camps along its western bank in the Sestol Plains.
A lot of locations being name-dropped there. But I almost feel like there was a chapter at one point that was cut, because they mention another fortress that falls like ripe fruit at the feet of the Laguz Alliance, but we never got to see it happen, so maybe there was another chapter planned there. Anyway, the name of this chapter is why I got confused about the song A Gathering of Storms earlier. Yeah, I thought it was called Storm Clouds, but that's the name of a chapter, not a song. Well, at least not in this game. Storm Clouds is, I believe, a song in Awakening. So yeah, Telgum. You think there'd be a chapter where you take over Telgum, but I guess they thought, yeah, conquering 3 forts in a row would be kind of boring. And of course, Skrimir. All he wants is to fight a big battle. He's kind of like me back when I was young and making Age of Empires maps, where my idea of a good map made using that map creator was just putting hundreds of units in the middle of an open plain and just having them have at it. I admit that could be very fun sometimes. Wow, I'm incredibly surprised. This is our first mention of the bird tribes doing any fighting at this point. Yeah, we know that from the last game. Soren, you need to stop being passive-aggressive with your compliments. Unfortunately, they said bird tribes plural, and seeing as the herons don't fight... Yep, it's the return of this guy. I believe this is his first physical appearance. I do like the image of seeing both the bird tribes with their soldiers untransformed and flapping their wings in unison. Well, we all know how much he likes the herons. Except for that one time when he sold, Race into Slavery. And, oh, right, this line. Okay, so there is tons more dialogue before this line in the extended script. I can't remember the exact details, but I do know that when I last read the extended script version of this scene, this line is pretty much the same, but there's a huge amount of dialogue before this, so they cut out a lot here. Well, we didn't actually know that. I'm sorry, but Nasala's probably going to take most of his secrets to his grave. Huh. Let's just hope that his methods were not the same ones Ashnard used. Even Nasala doesn't trust himself. I wonder how Nasala reacted to finding out Raphael was alive. And Tiban is saying some famous last words right here. Yep. With that, we already know Nasala's probably going to stab us in the back. Great! Meanwhile, this is our first time actually seeing the Bednion camp. Also a generic faceless armor knight here. And here's this guy, Levail. He's a pretty interesting character. One thing about him that I only found out recently, Levail actually gets a lot more dialogue in the extended script. We also find out, I believe only in the extended script, that Levail is actually an Earl. And that's a problem, because he's only a minor noble compared to the more major nobles that are leading the armies, so Levail is actually one of the more competent generals here, which is a bad thing for us because he's on the enemy side. But because he's only a minor noble, he doesn't have that much influence over the overall strategies that the Bednion army is using. So that's all we're going to get from Levail for now. Like I said, he actually has a much bigger role in the extended script. But anyway, one thing that I want to mention at the start of this base, before you buy anything, you want to view all the info conversations first, specifically this one. However, before I do view that info conversation, I just want to show something just as a proof of concept. So let's say we were to forge a steel bow here. And I want to forge everything up to maximum. So that's going to cost us roughly 12,000 gold. And we only have 5,000. Yeah, I said earlier that the Grail Mercenaries were very strapped for cash. We're finding that out now, however, I've done some things to rectify that. Firstly though, info, and yeah, I'll do what goes around first. So Heather's with us now, and so is Ileana. And, yep, Heather's found someone else, I see. Nah, she just always looks like that. This is also another reason why, so have I mentioned this before, that a lot of people headcanon that in Path of Radiance, during Gatefree supports with Shinnon, he meets someone who he thinks is the girl of his dreams, but it turns out that she's actually a con artist who's swindling him out of all of his money. A lot of people like to assume that that was Heather. It's never explicitly stated, but it sounds in character for her. This line adds a lot to that theory. And this is a pretty good line from Ileana. That line could apply to you too, Ike, well, as long as it's meat. At least Oscar is used to cooking for tons of lagoos by now, so you should have some pretty satisfying meals while you're with us. You know, it's kind of funny, you didn't have a support with Oscar in the last game. You'd think she would. She did have a support with Gatefree, though. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think that might be the last that we really hear of Ileana. Actually, no, wait. Ileana does have some interesting optional dialogues later on in Part 3, but most of them involve transferred supports from Path of Radiance, so I won't be able to show any of them. Now, this conversation is special, the three brothers. This is that base conversation I was talking about in the last chapter. You only unlock this if you have Oscar, Boyd, or Rolf visit the central house in 3-1. This conversation, however, costs you a Seraph robe, but I feel like the plot developments in it are definitely worth it. So this is the same woman that we met in the village in the last chapter. And she seems to know Oscar and Boyd. Kinda surprised she managed to follow us all the way out here. seeing as we've advanced pretty far since the last chapter. So it should be pretty obvious who this woman is now. This woman is only Rolf's mother. If you've seen some of the dialogue involving Oscar in the last game, you would have known this. Oscar practically raised Boyd and Rolf. So Rolf is implied to have been very young at the time she left him. It's just really interesting that Rolf's thinking like this, but he is old enough to make decisions like this, I feel. And it's actually nice to see Rolf admit that he loves his siblings. Also, this line right here. This line actually got changed in the European version because the American version made a really bad mistranslation. In the American version, Rolf said, "We may not be related, but you're still my brother." That is flat out wrong. They're half-siblings at the very least. Official developers' notes reveal that they all have the same father, so Rolf is Boyd and Oscar's half-brother. They actually are related, and the European version fixes that line accordingly. It's actually kind of weird. It's like there's something with Rolf's family and mistranslations. In his supports with Toronto in Path of Radiance, that his mother died and his father walked out on him when it's actually the other way around. So it's weird. They keep mistranslating his family situation. And Boyd shows sibling affection in his own special way. That's a really nice conversation overall. It does actually hit me kind of hard because, not to go into too much personal details, but I'm actually from a divorced family myself, so some of that does sort of resonate with me a little bit. Anyway, this conversation some of you might have been looking forward to, and Ike definitely was not looking forward to this. And he's now literally a hero because he's of the hero class. Oh no. If anything, Imy's got even crazier over him in 3 years. You know, that's not a bad idea considering how little gold we have. admittedly a good point. And I me admitting it is just going to make us even less inclined to take her up on her offer. Yeah, Amy has completely become Amy Rose at this point. And then this sequence, I don't know, there's a lot of people who really love this sequence, but I personally find it extremely weird. I just find the idea of Soren flirting with someone just incredibly bizarre and actually kind of wrong. That's actually kind of a funny line, though. You know what, people got Veronica Taylor to voice the father of Soth's children line. I wonder if anyone has ever asked, Kyle McCleary to voice this speech. Also, remember that limited time deal. Speaking of Kyle McCleary, I've been playing Nier Automata lately, and yeah, 9S's voice is pretty much Soren. It's funny, when I first heard cutscenes from that game, I thought that it was Yuri Lowenthal, but no, it's actually Kyle McCleary. Alright, so Shinnon and Rolf ironically have a support, despite how they were constantly competing in the last chapter. And, okay, Mist and Boyd have a support. I'm going to start this, because like I said, I might want to actually get them to an A before the end of Part 3. Because there is a special conversation for that. I'm not sure about supporting Shinnon and Rolf yet, though. Oh, and Nephany and Brom, can they get to a B now? No, okay, but they are at least still B rank. By the way, they're with us now. I'll show their stats after this. You know what? I guess there's no reason not to do that. It's not going to set me back anything. So, now we have the silver card, which should be in Soren's inventory. Yeah, it's in Soren's inventory. So, this will let us buy items at half price. And there's not one, but two mistranslations that were corrected in the European version for this chapter. Because in the American version, this card had a very strange help description. It said, reduces all items to half price, but does not earn any training points. I bet many players read that and thought, to quote a badly dubbed cutscene, what the heck is that? Training points are obviously a mistranslation of forging points. The idea here is that in the Japanese version, you earn forging points by selling unwanted weapons. With the silver card, you can sell items for the exact same value that you buy them for, so you could just buy a bunch of weapons, sell them back again, and repeat the process to gain unlimited forging points. They made the silver card not give you any forging points to get around that. But since forging points were removed from the English version, you don't need to worry about that here. So the silver card, no drawbacks whatsoever in this version, except for the fact that you only have it for this base and never again. So make use of it while it lasts, and that's why I transferred some good items for selling. So in addition to the blue gem we picked up in the last chapter, we also have Ileana the delivery girl. She's got a whole bunch of things that I can sell. And we have Nephany, who didn't really bring much over. Brom, who brought over an Ashura icon to sell, the Steel Blade, and Meteor. Okay, first things first. Meteor, Soren, now. This Meteor Tome, I'm not going to be using it just yet, but I'm going to need to conserve 2 uses of it. Soren will need to use it once in 3-7 and once in 3 endgame, in order to unlock a special conversation at the end of the game. I feel Meteor is the easiest way to do this, and I'm pretty sure that at base, Soren can always use Meteor, so you don't need to worry about him not being able to use it. Okay then. We also have Heather, who brought Discipline, actually quite a lot of good items, Speed Beam and Draco Shield, and Ha, who brought Nullify, so I've got quite a lot to do here. But why did I show the forging cost before? Like I said, this is a proof of concept. If we go to forge a steel bow, exact same specs as before, it appears to be the exact same price. So the silver card does not affect the forge. It affects the armory and the shop, but it doesn't affect the forge. Just bear that in mind. So let's go ahead and sell some things. I'm going to just go ahead and sell all my Ashura icons because they're really not that useful. Luck is a pretty bad stat. I mean, actually, yeah, so, something that I almost forgot to mention, when you're done shopping, be sure to sell the silver card, because you might as well. Gonna go ahead and sell the Spectre card, gonna sell these. Not gonna sell Discipline, obviously not gonna sell Celerity. Might as well sell Guard, because it's pretty useless. And I now have 30,000 gold, so the Grail Mercenaries' money issues are pretty much gone for the time being. But yeah, like I said, when you're done with this chapter, be sure to sell the silver card, because it will disappear from your inventory anyway, so you might as well get 2,000 gold out of it. So, first things first, let's go to the shop and check Imy's bargains. Not much, but will I need this arm scroll? How are my weapon ranks doing? I could use it to buff up Gatry's axe rank if I wanted to. But I'm not sure, like, there isn't really that much that he can use on top of what he currently can use with an A rank, so... I don't know. Right, that steel blade's gonna go on Ike. I traded it over specifically for that reason. Actually, wait a minute. Ike has Etard, and we're gonna be getting another Etard soon. No, that steel blade is going on Mia. Now, back to the market. I could buy this Wormslayer. For some reason, they give you a lot of Wormslayers as bargains in Part 3. I might as well get this, because there are going to be some Wyvern Riders to fight in this chapter. Maybe Mia, because they do spawn as reinforcements in an area where I might be using her. Do I buy the Arm Scroll? It is half price, I might as well. Let's go ahead and send that to the convoy. Now let's check out the armory. Okay, I want to buy a few of these. You know what? More than a few of these. In fact, this half-price offer won't last long. Let's go ahead and buy 10 Wind Edges. And let's just send them to storage for now. And I might as well buy a whole bunch of Javelins. 10 Javelins. I probably only need 5 Hand Axes. And I might as well buy an extra Steel Great Lance. Just that goes to storage for now. Might as well get an extra Steel Poleaxe as well. Don't want to spend too much money, because there is a very good weapon to buy a few chapters down the road. I will be getting a blue gem from the base conversation in that chapter though, so it won't be that hard to afford. We can buy bowguns, but we'll be able to find better crossbows a bit later. Now, daggers, don't really need more daggers. And as for magic, I think Soren's fine on magic for the time being. Yeah, he's decent enough on magic. What I do want to do, though, is I want to go ahead and forge, and this is kind of sad that I need to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and forge Rolf a bow. Let's just go ahead and, actually, that is a lot of gold. I don't think I need the extra hit rate. Yeah, let's go ahead and give maximum might and maximum crit, and let's make it, You know what, I just had an idea. The main reason why I wanted to do this is, well, two main reasons. One, I want Rolf to have a better bow, and two, I want to show what coins do. So if you use a coin here, you get to pick a card. Oh, the Goddess card's on there. The Goddess card is really good. It gives a massive boost to pretty much every stat, but I probably won't get it. And we get a sword. Sword is might +1, not bad. You can find a full list of the card effects from coins on Serenade's Forest, but Goddess is the best. There is, unfortunately, a card that does nothing, and there is a Raven card that gets you a few extra coins, so that's kind of interesting. I don't think I see that one come up very often. I don't know what the exact percentage chances of the cards are, and I feel like which card you draw is always predetermined, although don't quote me on that. Like, it's like something like every chapter they actually predetermine if you use a coin, you will get this card guaranteed for your first coin. But again, don't quote me on that. I'm not fully sure how it works, but I do feel like it's impossible to reset for coins. Anyway, I'm going to be calling this, I don't think Longbow of the Sky Sentinel will fit, but I think I might be able to call it... Yes, I am spelling Sentinel correctly, and it's just enough to fit. So Rolf's going to get the Longbow of the Sky Sentinel, even though it's not actually a longbow. It's funny how he says thanks a lot with 3 dots. It's like he doesn't want to forge things for you or something. Okay, so management. I'm going to swip around. I'm going to do some skill management here. I actually kind of feel like I might want to remove this, and this is kind of a bit of a decision because I am going to be using Soren in endgame, and free adept is nice. However, I might actually want to put that on Mia for now. So let's go ahead and do that. As for discipline, who wants discipline? So that's the problem with discipline, is that most of the Grail mercenaries have already capped their weapon ranks, or at least their relevant weapon ranks. Actually, Rolf might as well take discipline because his bow rank's a little low, and I think he needs an A or an S in order to use that really good bow that I'll be getting later, so might want to go ahead and take that. I don't think crossbows give weapon experience either, although I could be wrong. Now, as for others, I could give Gatry Celerity, although that just makes someone's already bad movement passable rather than make someone's already good movement even better. You know, like, really, I could just give Ha Celerity, but that just breaks the game even further. I'm going to go ahead and give Ha Nullify, though. I don't want to overuse Ha too much, but... Oh, yeah, by the way, Ha's back, which means that the game is now broken again. You know what? Let's go ahead and take Disarm off of you. Disarm might be better suited on someone with better skill. I often like giving Disarm to Nephany, actually. Let's go ahead and swap that to Nephany. Heather still has Pass. Pass is probably going to be better served on someone else, but there's also Shade. Sometimes I like giving Shade to Mist, although it doesn't always work. I mean, I might as well remove Shade, because I doubt I'll be using Ileana at this point. So, let's see, maybe Shade on... Do I want Shade on Soren? I sometimes put Shade on Soren. I might put Shade on Mist for now. And are there any other skills that I want to switch around? Okay, you've still got Wrath. Oh, right, yeah, Cancel. Cancel is pretty much overkill on Ha. I'm going to be taking that off him, and who... Soren will probably get better use out of Cancel, although it is speed percent, which is not the best for Soren, but... Gatry might not get bad use out of Cancel either. I mean, could give it to Shinnen, but that's sort of overkill. Speed percent on Gatry isn't bad either, but Gatry, he can take counterattacks just fine. I'm going to give Cancel to Soren for now. Could give Celerity to Soren as well, but let's see. I think for the time being, let's just... I mean, Celerity on Rice might be good to get him to heal more. Let's actually just go ahead and give Gatry Celerity for the moment. I might swap Celerity around during Part 3. And in terms of bonus experience, I don't really have a lot, but I might as well cap Ike off here, because... on average, he's better at level up with bonus experience at this point. And exactly the same 3 stats that he usually gets yet again. Anyone else who... I might as well. We'll be getting our first 3rd tier promotion item in the next chapter. So, Soren will probably be hitting 3rd tier very soon, seeing as he's capped all of his worthwhile stats. I think I might actually cap off Gatry here. That's pretty much exactly what I hoped for, and that's not quite capped in either skill or speed. And almost capped defense, though, which is good. Yeah, something interesting about that Seraph Robe that you pass up by getting the 3 brothers conversation. Most people in the Grail Mercenaries start out with nearly capped HP anyway, so it's not like a lot of people really need that. Speaking of stat boosters, though, you know what's sad when I actually need to do this, but I kind of feel like Rolf may need this. So let's just go ahead and use that Speed Wing, and the Draco Shield. Who wants that? Titania could use it to cap her defense, but... I could give it to Rolf, but that's giving 2 stat boosters to 1 character. You know what? Well, that is using a stat booster on someone who I'm not really planning on bringing to endgame, but... I kind of like to use it on Mia, but... You know what, I might as well. And is there anything else that I need to do here? I don't think so, but let's go ahead and swap around... Not swap around, let's go ahead and equip some people with some ranged weapons. Javelin, who needs extra hand axes? You might as well take an extra hand axe. Rolf's probably fine on items for the moment, although I might want to trade Shinnen's Vulnerary back to Rolf. Might as well trade your Ann Herb over to Shinnen, because Shinnen does take a lot of damage sometimes thanks to Provoke. you may as well take an extra javelin. Titania will definitely need an extra hand axe, maybe even a couple of extra hand axes. And Ike is going to go ahead and take a wind edge. And obviously Nia is also going to take a wind edge. Miss doesn't need a wind edge because she already has an even better wind edge as her personal weapon, which she still doesn't use very much. How's Hard doing on weapons? He might as well take an extra hand axe. Nefany, I think, is okay on weapons for the time being. So yeah, you also need to make sure that you have a wind edge on Ike before 3-7 if you're on a second playthrough, because trust me, you will need it. It'll become obvious why later on. But anyway, I think that's everything, and we actually do get preparations this time, so I don't need to save in the base. You can actually see Keisha there on the map. So, beating up some jerk nobles, as inevitably happens at some point in a Fire Emblem game.